Klay Thompson's dad ended up checking Monica McNutt and everybody who has the same ideology that she has when it comes to why Caitlin Clark is famous and why she's such a big phenomenon in this world.
Here's a polished and grammatically correct version of your text, rewritten for clarity and flow. When NBA champion Mychal Thompson, father of Klay Thompson, admitted he was actually starstruck meeting Caitlin Clark, I had to rewind the interview. This is a man who won titles alongside Magic Johnson, competed against legends like Michael Jordan and Larry Bird, and raised a multi-time NBA champion in Klay. He's been surrounded by basketball royalty his entire life. Yet there he was, genuinely gushing over a WNBA.
Well, they don't like Caitlin Clark. You know, Caitlin Clark, I've been noticing, I've been following her career since she was a sophomore at Iowa, and I recognized how different she was, how different she played the game. She played the game like Steph Curry. We had never seen a woman play like that before.
Here's a refined, unique, and grammatically correct version of your text that maintains your message while improving clarity and tone. Meanwhile, ESPN's Monica McNutt can't seem to stop downplaying Caitlin Clark's accomplishments. Her latest take, suggesting that Clark's popularity is simply because she's a white girl from the heartland, isn't just tone deaf, it's part of a troubling pattern. Forget the logo range threes, the once-in-a-generation court vision, or the joy she brings to millions of fans while inspiring kids across the country. According to McNutt, it all comes down to how Clark looks. But here's the real question. Why would someone with McNutt's platform repeatedly target the very player who's bringing millions of new fans to women's basketball? And what did Mychal Thompson say that's putting her in check? Let's dive.
I was just about to say same thing for Angel Reese when I had a chance to cover their games. But I think Caitlin represented, and again, some of this to me probably is not fair to her because it was not anything that she said or was truly based on her personality, but she was a white girl from the middle of America.
Here's a polished and compelling version of your text. Monica McNutt just crossed a line that most ESPN analysts know better than to even approach. In a recent BBC interview with special correspondent Caddy Kay, McNutt chose to attribute Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise not to her once-in-a-generation talent, but to her appearance, and, apparently, what she symbolizes. Rather than acknowledging Clark's extraordinary skill, leadership, and impact on the game, McNutt reduced it all to how
she represented a whole lot to a lot of people, whether that is truly what she prescribed to or not. We can all say she is a dynamic basketball player and a force both on the court and the marketing sense. But I do think same thing with folks that may have fallen in love with Angel Reese that may or may not have agreed with everything they had to say either. We attach our fandom to these icons for all types of reasons.
Here's a powerful and polished version of your paragraph. Let that sink in for a moment. According to Monica McNutt, it's not Caitlin Clark's record-breaking NCAA scoring, her no-look passes, or those filthy crossovers that leave defenders frozen. It's not her deep three-pointers that are reshaping how women's basketball is played, her charisma with fans, the time she takes for kids, or the way she positively represents the sport. No, apparently, it's mainly about her being white and from the Midwest.
WNBA and all the people that follow the WNBA and try to promote the WNBA don't understand that Caitlin Clark's game resonates with us. I say this every day, and every day I got to deal with somebody else dumb in the media. Caitlin Clark's game resonates because she's got flair, she's got flash, she's got style. I said this before, and I'll say this again. We saw Sue Bird's game. We saw Diana Taurasi's game. Kim Mulkey was Sue Bird before Sue Bird became Sue Bird.
It's a polished and impactful version of your paragraph. This dismissive take completely overlooks the real reasons millions tune in to watch Caitlin Clark play. While Monica McNutt was busy reducing Clark to a demographic profile, the Indiana Fever were finalizing an unprecedented 41 nationally televised games for the 2025 season. Networks don't invest that kind of airtime because of a player's background. They do it because fans can't get enough of watching true excellence.
These people that play in the NBA, these people that cover the NBA, there I said these people, all of you, black, white, green, purple. Why don't you understand a very simple thing? Her game is dynamic. Like Diana Taurasi was like a jackass to Caitlin Clark. Why? Her game is what people are drawn to. And then you go to the personality. Her game is different than any WNBA woman ever. And she wins, and she shoots from deep. It's no different than Steph Curry. How many times we got to say?
Here's a refined version of your paragraph that sharpens the point and adds clarity. What makes McNutt's comments especially troubling is how they strip Caitlin Clark of her agency and disregard over a decade of relentless skill development. Every behind-the-back pass, every logo three-pointer. These weren't privileges handed to her, but skills hummed through countless hours spent in empty gyms when no one was watching. McNutt conveniently overlooks the fact that Clark led the entire league in assists as a rookie, all while adapting to a completely new level of play.
Honestly, the main reason is because of her talents. It's not because of her race. Her race has nothing to do with it. Especially with kids. She's saying kids don't see color, man. The kids that I grew up around, and when I grew up as a kid, I didn't see color, man. I did not see color. I didn't care about color. I didn't know what color was. I just knew you were a human being, and I was trying to be your friend. It's kind of a crazy, nonsensical take to say that kids were looking up to her because she was white.
One compelling version of your paragraph, the backlash to McNutt's racial comments, is just the latest chapter in what seems like a personal vendetta against the WNBA's brightest star. This isn't an isolated incident or a momentary slip-up. McNutt has consistently moved the goalposts every time Caitlin Clark achieves something remarkable, undermining her accomplishments rather than celebrating.
It's every day. I don't know why Monica McNutt or anybody that professes to know basketball can't simply say, her game's just different than everybody we've ever seen. Ever. Now, don't tell me. I've watched. Ever. Tamika Catchy's great player. Seen her.
Here's a refined version of your paragraph. Just look at the Rookie of the Year debate last year. While Caitlin Clark was putting up historic numbers as a first-year player, McNutt suddenly decided that team success should be the primary criterion. She appeared on ESPN's Get Up to publicly back Angel Reese over Clark, citing the Chicago Sky's playoff position at the time, while the Indiana Fever were not in contention. Funny how individual excellence became secondary the moment Clark began dominating those statistical.
Sabrina, Brianna, Kelsey, Diana Taurasi. You had and have these white players in the league that never galvanized the people like this. All right. Now, granted, you can have some people come back and say, well, the media and the coverage wasn't as good as it is now. NILs and things like that weren't popping off. That has nothing to do with it. That has nothing to do with it, man. If they were that captivating, they would have got that.
Here's a more polished and clear version of your paragraph. You'll notice this pattern in McNutt's commentary across the board. When Caitlin Clark breaks records or achieves something unprecedented, McNutt shifts the focus to team performance. When the conversation turns to Clark's impact on growing the game, she finds ways to credit other players or external factors. The inconsistency is nothing short of striking. Her evaluation criteria mysteriously change depending on whether they might favor Clark. Watch McNutt's body language during ESPN segments featuring Clark highlights. The eye rolls, the dismissive hand gestures, and the visibly restrained enthusiasm all stand in stark contrast to her animated discussions about other rookies. This nonverbal communication speaks volumes about her underlying attitudes toward Clark. Remember when she...
You would have this guy in the playoffs right now, which means that Angel Reese, in theory, has impacted winning in a greater way. But I think the double-double streak that she's on, the 8 consecutive double-doubles, for Caitlin, she's leading rookies in points, minutes, and assists. There was terrific stats put out over the weekend by our colleague Mychal Thompson about the percentage, about her being the player that has seen the most blitzes in the league. And so she's navigating a different level of defensive intensity, and rightfully so, because she's playing a point guard role for this Fever squad. So I think today, looking at the standings, you probably tend to lean...
A refined version of your paragraph. Social media activity tells an equally revealing story. McNutt has repeatedly liked and retweeted posts that downplay Caitlin Clark's achievements or suggest she's overhyped. These digital breadcrumbs create a clear trail of bias that goes beyond her on-air commentary, further solidifying the perception that her criticism comes from something personal rather than professional analysis.
Okay. To me, yeah, jealous, sure. Would you be jealous of somebody that got $28 million shoe deal or whatever the deal is before you step foot in the pros? Right.
Here's a polished and clearer version of your paragraph. What's particularly interesting is how McNutt's tone shifted as Caitlin Clark's popularity exploded. Early in Clark's college career, McNutt's commentary was notably more balanced. However, as Clark began drawing unprecedented attention to women's basketball, McNutt's criticism seemed to intensify in parallel. This timeline suggests that something beyond basketball analysis might be influencing her views. Perhaps discomfort with Clark's meteoric rise or something more personal.
You go watch Caitlin Clark. I did this. I went to go to a Fever game, not because I'm so enamored with women's basketball or because I'm so enamored with Caitlin Clark. No, I wanted to see what it was like on the court. Who did my eyes go to? And without question, it was a game against Phoenix. Big old Brittany Griner's out there. Very hot Sophie Cunningham is out there, but they didn't matter. All eyes go to Caitlin Clark because of the way she plays, the way she competes, the way she's a little bit, to use Shannon Sharps, we're a little nasty on the court, nasty to her teammates. She's screaming at a ref right in front of us. I had first row seats right there under the basket. Fantastic.
Here's a refined version of your paragraph. The pattern becomes impossible to ignore when viewed as a whole. The selective application of standards, the noticeably different approach to Clark compared to other players, the social media trail, and the timing of her increasingly negative commentary all point to the same conclusion. What we're witnessing isn't objective analysis, but personal bias disguised as professional commentary. So, what exactly did an LA Laker legend say to put her in her place and defend Caitlin Clark? Let me know if you need any further adjustments.
It's different than ours. Her game's special. They always got to go to Little White Girl. I didn't hear anybody going to Little White Girl with Diana Taurasi. Why is that? I don't know. There's a jealousy there, no question. But they just can't bring themselves to say, we've never seen this before. I've seen more basketball in a year than Monica McNutt has seen in her lifetime.
Polished version of your paragraph. Just as the fog of bias settles around Caitlin Clark's narrative, enter Mychal Thompson, a man whose basketball wisdom was shaped alongside Magic Johnson during the Lakers' championship runs. While McNutt weaponizes opinions disguised as analysis, Thompson offers something far more valuable to the conversation, a perspective earned through decades of experience at basketball's highest levels. Let me know if you'd like any adjustments.
I knew once she got further along in her career in college, I used to tell all my colleagues who are not into women's basketball, I say, hey, man, you got to check out this girl at Iowa, man. She shoots from the logo. She shoots from almost half court. She's different.
Here's a polished version of your paragraph. Thompson isn't just any commentator. As a two-time NBA champion with the Lakers in the 80s and a current Lakers broadcaster, his basketball judgment carries the weight of experience most analysts can only dream of. When someone who has shared the court with Magic Johnson and watched his son Klay develop into one of the greatest shooters in NBA history offers an assessment, basketball fans listen. What makes Thompson's defense of Caitlin Clark particularly powerful is that it defies the natural order of the basketball universe. In a stunning admission that speaks volumes, Thompson confessed to something nearly unheard of from a veteran of his caliber. Let me know if you want further adjustments or tweaks.
I was trying to emphasize it for about a year, then he finally caught on. And men who travel with us in our traveling party, who are basically anti-women's basketball, just didn't care for it, didn't want to talk about it, had no interest in it at all. All of a sudden, they started watching Caitlin Clark and got intrigued by her, and they became fans of her and her game.